let's see if we can get this going. I'll be quiet because my kids are asleep, but find the link and give it to you guys. Alright, you guys just let me know when you're inside. So just right, okay, there we go. My day is good, man. How's yours? Let me do this. I'm going to split up the chats. What's going on, guys? I heard people miss my voice today. I'm going to have Discord up on one side, so if people want to still stay in the Discord, that's fine. And then I'll have also the YouTube chat. Yeah, so I mean, I guess it all depends on your nerves. Like, for me, I was watching it, I'm just going, I know they're using a lot of short exempts because once they went on SSR, which is the short sale restriction, they're not supposed to be able to short on downticks. So the only way they were going to get those waterfalls essentially was if they were bid slamming, and also so that means they're bid whacking, bid slamming. What that is basically they take a bunch of shares that they buy long, and then they just shuffle them off as fast as they can with high frequency trading machines. And so what their plan is, they want to lower the price and get retail to freak out because it's induces panic selling. Because when people see those big red lines, they just go, "Oh, I gotta get out." And then they usually follow up with the second one because the first one was like, okay, well maybe it's reactionary, maybe some people missed it. Then they give you a second one and maybe a third one too, just to really hammer it home. So I was expecting 2 or 3 of them today. I only saw 2 real ones. The rest of it was like kind of more of a slow fade. But when we looked at the actual, I'll show you right here. So if you notice right here, you've got your FINRA exempt volume. So today it was 701,000. If you look right here, we had 656K. But that was on a day that had 50 million reported FINRA volume. Now this is not the total volume of the day because I think that day was like a total of like 80 or something, 78 or something like that. Yeah. So just to show you, like the total aggregate volume that they recorded for the day was about 13 million. I think when we actually looked at the numbers, it was like higher, it was like 18 million, but I'm just showing you this portion right here because this is what FINRA records. They recorded that market makers shorted 701K. Now they shorted 656 on this day, but that was like a 50 million reported day, and over here they shorted slightly more, 65, but that was on a day that had 100 and I think it was 140 million or something like that recorded volume. So like the fact that they're this high means that they're really trying to move the price down, and it looks like because shorts were having trouble locating shares, once they did that, they were assisting them. So the market makers were literally, it looks like, assisting or trying to knock it down because they have an incentive. The incentive is they don't want those $5 to have to be hedged, and they were trying desperately to get the price under 4, and we didn't get it. We finished over 4, but they really wanted to get the price under 4, and that's why they used some of their own short exempt volume to try to get that share price down, because the biggest thing is they can't afford to let these fives run, because right now, pull up the options chain. Grab it real quick. Let's see if we have anything. Oh, cool. We got like 20 people in here. Yeah, like over 4 is a big step today. So like that, I was happy that we finished over 4. And here's the thing. Let me pull up the options chains for you guys, and so we can just take a look at it together. Let's see real quick. We have to do a snapshot so it doesn't include the account information. But give me 2 seconds and I'll do that. I'm just going to grab this week and next week's and then show you guys what it looks like. Alright, so we're going to crop this real quick. I think it's on this side. Yeah, here we go. Crop that real quick and then show you guys what this looks like once I get the... Okay. So let's check this out. So open interest is sitting right over here. And actually, I think I can do it this way. We'll just make it a little... So this yellow is basically in the money. So right now, based off where we are, I'll get a little highlighter out. There we go. Right now, this is where we are sitting right now because we finished technically over 4. Here's where it's going to get really interesting. So right here, just finishing over 4, that's 1 million shares right there. That would be finishing in the money. Now, once again, they don't have a ton of, shares, and liquidity is very, very low at this point. So they're playing with fire because if, for example, we finish over 450, so what's going to start happening, hopefully at least, is in the future we're going to have some of these filling up more because as they try to push down the price, hopefully more and more retail will be buying, some of these ones if they're trying to get their shares delivered by next week. So we've got these right now that are in the money, and there's at least probably like 1.5 million shares. Well, but there might be some bullish puts in there too, so we'll have to see what happens there. But if they were to get over this right here, the $5, that's huge because just alone right now, that's like 4.4 million shares that would be in the money. And that would be insane because this is only 1 day in. So this number will grow as this gets slightly cheaper because the theta will decay, which is basically your time element of the Greeks. So as the theta decays, the options will get slightly cheaper. And what you'll see is there are more and more people that if the gamma will start basically having to be hedged if they start moving up. So if we get above 450 again, then all of a sudden this becomes like a magnet, and they start having to they're supposed to at least be hedging towards that. So that's why they're trying to push it down here, is because essentially if they let it hang here, they're going to have to start hedging tomorrow for some of these 4.4 million shares, and they don't have that many. They really don't have anywhere near that many shares available because they're having to deal with FTDs probably because they're either having now to choose between doing the T+3 from last week, the T+1 and T+2 will be tomorrow. So what's going to end up happening is we're going to have to see some probably buying pressure, and they're going to try to keep it down as much as possible because they can't let it get into this zone, because in this zone right here is dangerous. I mean, literally it's, the danger zone, Archer. For anyone that watches Archer, this is the danger zone right here. Because as they hang out in this range, they're going to have to start hedging some of these. But can't they just short exempt some more like today? Yes, they can. But they're kicking a can down the road because if you go to next week's options chains, these are filling up also. And what's going to end up happening now is you're going to have FTDs piling up on top of these option chains. So if they don't want to fight for this week, if they decide, okay, we're going to burn these down, we're not going to deliver, we're not going to do all these things, we're going to basically go and push it 1 week past and hope that retail forgets about this, and maybe we can get some, some bearish news, and we'll try to push them down. But here's the thing. If as each day goes by and retail knows more and more about this and starts buying common shares, all these things, all these are starting to pile up, and brokers will not have the shares for these people, which will then turn into an FTD. And then at some point, they will get to a point where they get on the reg show. And as these things spike and get larger and larger and larger and larger, now you're having to actually have some eyes on you, because once you get on that list, it's kind of like a target on your back. You look like a wounded animal, and at any point a big guy can come in and go, you know what, these guys are screwed, let's just go ahead and make them cover. And they'll just they'll buy a whole bunch of in the money calls and then just push it up, and then at that point it's gonna blow. It's scary for these guys. Like, if you were a short, or if you're a market maker, this is a dangerous area for you, because like, if this runs, it's going to run. Like, I mean, we're looking at like in the six, and then, but here's the thing: it's not just this particular. So okay, so, but it's let me just finish this part. So it's not just this option chain here. You guys have to remember, they also have a million, I'm just going through. If you think about the May calls, if the 250s and the fives now were all of a sudden the money, there's like a couple million there, and like, they don't all need to be they have to hedge now, because they're in the future. So what you'll have is like a percentage of them would have to be hedged. But the more and more of these in the money calls that are sitting there, the more dangerous it gets for them. So let's go to some YouTube questions real quick, just so we can kind of go over them. Okay, so 15% short exempt is a big deal. Yeah, I mean, it's a very high percentage to do it, and they did it because they were on SSR. And when you go on SSR, you're wounded animal, and so they were trying to kick us down and get people to sell, because they need shares and they need to be able to cover. And that's why I don't particularly recommend, at least for me, I'm not selling shares and trying to time it, because it gives them like a constant flow of shares to go in and out on. You're not getting FTDs because of that. Yeah, and there's going to be, at some point, some whales are going to see this, and they're going to go, it's too tempting, and they're going to just jump on them. All right, so could they just go, they could just go by 354 and 450 lateral. Yeah, I mean, like, they can push it up if they want, or they can, if they want to push it down, but they're going to deal with FTDs later. Let's see. Can't they just short exempt like today? Yeah, they're just kicking the can down the road at that point. I'm just telling you. Let's get to the danger zone. Yeah, I mean, so this is why my TD is allowing me to buy stock only, no options. Yeah, so at this point right now, they want to make sure that they don't give retail extra leverage on this stock. It's been hard to borrow for like a year, and it's been hard to borrow for a year because they need they need these shares back, and retail has them all, and they're not supposed to have them all. That we were supposed to paper hand and get out, and these people just keep going and going. Downvote. He's got no clue what he's talking about. All right, let's see. But CPI. Okay, so everyone's expecting CPI to just kill everything. And, it'd be interesting. Let's look at the puts on the SPY, because that, to me, would indicate something interesting, because everyone likes to be logical in the market, and that is not actually how the market works. Let me go ahead and pull up. So CPI is, pull up Thursdays. Okay, so 3 days away. I want to see what the volume on the put side is, because a lot of times when everyone gets super, 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 bearish, the market makers like to, or not just the market makers, but like smart money likes to just burn because puts are more expensive than calls, and so every once in a while you just like interpret the data and go, hey, you know what? It wasn't as bad as we thought it was going to be, and then they just push the price up just to burn those puts for a week, and then I mean there's a fair amount of puts here, and I mean let me see what max pain. Let's see if we can find max pain real quick for the SPY and just see if that is something that's going to play a factor. Alright, so let's take a look at a couple of different ones. So max pain on the SPY is 448. And let's pull up where we are now. It's so current SPY price closed today at 439. So max pain is actually higher than where we are right now. So that's interesting. So that means right now, let me see what the SPY, it's kind of done the last couple of days. It's been on like a downtrend with that slight swing up. But let's see something real quick. Yeah, like, wouldn't it be interesting if the CPI data comes out and they just decide that they're going to be burning these, these puts. And so the market takes a rally up, even though it was expected that the CPI data would be, horrible. I mean, that's kind of how the market works, because they're just looking at where they can make the most money each week. And so if there's more puts to burn, then they'll probably burn the puts. And that's just kind of what it is. All right, let's see what else they've got. I just want to see. Swaggy's got it at... Where is it? Oh, there it is. 448. They got the same one. I just want to compare a couple different ones. And they've got 450. So 448, 450. So max pain right now is higher than our current share price. So, I mean, it could happen. It could be that, everyone gets super bearish and then these guys want to make some money for this week, so they just burn the hell out of those puts. So it doesn't necessarily mean that yet tomorrow is going to be, free fall. Let's see. May 20th is having a lot of $5 calls. If they have to run early, they're going to have bigger problems to deal with. Yeah, they are. I mean, they don't have shares. That's the amazing thing about all this. It's like, when you have 100% utilization, that means shares are very, very hard to find. Well, they've had that since March 8th. And March 8th was over a month ago. So where are they coming up with all these shares? And it's very interesting, because you're going to start seeing these FTDs start spiking soon. It's always delayed, but once that happens, it goes from there. Yeah. The CPI is probably already priced in, and then when they get their results, they're going to go, oh, well, it wasn't as bad as we thought, and then they push it back up. So that's kind of how the market works. They like to take illogical people and then take their money. Because when I first started out, I used to be like, oh, well, this is going to happen. I used to hold a ton of logic. I thought things out, and then I would lose money. And I would go, I don't understand. How could they do that? Just reading JWalks. Help us. Oh, that is smart. That is smart. Someone tweeted Lori, who was on Shark Tank, and I think she might have invested in in Squatter Potty. Please turn your volume up. Let me see. I'm going to go to my microphone settings. Hello, hello. Oh, you know what? I can try 2,000%. Is that better? Is that any better? I can try 2,000% up. I was on 1,000% up before, but is this any better? I'll wait for you guys to tell me. Yes, a little bit better. I can try 2,000%. Let me see if that does anything. This microphone apparently sucks, so I have to like be all up on it. But let me try 2,000%. Okay, is that better than before? Yes, no. Okay, the volume's okay. Okay. Is this better though than the one before it? Yeah, I'm not going to speak too loud, but I was going to say. So do the inverse of the short squeeze. Okay, so it's better, much better. Okay, good stuff. I don't have to speak as loud too then, so that's good. All right, so much better than before. Okay. So let's take a look though what we're doing with Aterian, because I want to see. Let me see if I can get that. Excuse me. Pulling up and see if this thinkorswim is working now. It'll take me a second to get this up and running, and hopefully it will work now, because yesterday I was having issues with it. Alright, let me do this. I'm going to go ahead and pull up charts. Customize a grid. Flexible grid or charts. Here we go. Alright, so this is what I need. Alright, we can get it up here. Okay, maybe I have to do it this way. Okay. So, we right now are messing around with a whole bunch of things, and we came back and we hit the support line and bounced off of it. So what I want to do is so we've been testing these like areas. So basically we had that big day right here, massive volume, like 145 million shares traded. Then we had, this was Tuesday, we had kind of doji, went down. So, then we had this huge gap up, right? And we just came back and we filled the gap roughly, or we missed it by like a couple cents. So what we could see tomorrow is at some point filling that gap. Because I think it was only by like a couple cents that we gapped. Does that hit that? No, it doesn't hit it. So yeah, there still is a tiny gap left in between there. From when we gapped up from this day to, I guess it was that Friday? Yeah, Friday. So now we came back, fill the gap, hopefully find some support around 390s, and then we'll hopefully kind of be able to go from there and make the next move up. Let's see. But that's why, like, when we're going up, I don't like gapping up unless we're just going to run completely. But because you will find times that where it will backfill, and then you have to, like, go retrace that. And so, but what I wanted to show you guys is I can build out some studies and just kind of go over them. So let's do on volume, because I know somebody was asking about that. Well, on balance volume, OBV, let's do accumulation, distribution. I want to combine them on the same line. And I also want to do money flow, because I think that's another one that's interesting. Let's see what the money's doing. We're going to put that on the same line too. So we're going to make money, let's make this green. Let's make ADL, let's make consolidation. Let's make that purple. This one yellow. Let's make OBV white. Alright, let's apply, except for we need to do this. I need to make this one a line. Okay. So, let's just take a look at this real quick, and then let's also look at some oscillators. Let's look at RSI. Move that up. Not into volume, but should we move these down? Okay. There's RSI, and then let's do an awesome, and let's put TTM up too, just for fun. Okay. So I need to pull up the chats again so I can see what you guys are saying. Hold on. Sorry, I was where did I put them? Here's a. Here we go. Okay, here we go. Yeah, I mean, so this is why we. So everyone wants to know. Oh, like I thought we were so bullish. You know, we were flying up, flying up. This is really what's going on. Is you had a day where we finished here, and then pre-market we moved all the way up. I mean, move it instead of the daily. Let's do like the 1 hour, right? So we finished here, and then pre-market we pushed all the way up and hit a high of 507. And since then, here's the thing. When you move up like this, you typically move in like, it can be bull flags, or you can do it however you want. But basically what's happened is we came out here, this was the weekend, and then we came out just flying up. I mean, the volume was there. I mean, just on like that one bar, that was like, what was it, 40 million on like an hour bar? Yeah, it was like 43 million on this particular, just somebody was just slapping the ass and just like pushing the price up. And was that an institution? Was it, retail trader? We have no idea who did that, but somebody really just hammered this bar and really got them up here. And then, so this is essentially a bull flag. And what it does is it comes straight up. If we combined it on, I guess, like maybe the 4 hour, or let's see, is that like, oh, oops. No, we have to do a little bit less. Let's maybe do a 30-minute. Yeah, so you have this big line up essentially, and then you have some consolidation. So consolidation, you'll droop a little bit, consolidation, and then you'll have your next move up. So in this one though, they did it through the pre-market. The problem with that though is you left this gap. Yeah, I mean, so supposedly that's, maybe, what happened was a bunch of people were slapping the ass and they got, retail interested, because once it goes over 10%, then you've got momentum traders, you've got all sorts of other people that come in. But here, take a look at this. So let's zoom in on this particular area right here. When you zoom out, you can see it a little bit clearer, but you all of a sudden saw a ton of accumulation coming up right here, and then they started coming out. So they're trying to push the price down here. That's what this line down is. But as you see, the money is actually flowing in, and so is the volume. So the volume and the money are moving in, and they've been staying up. Now they drifted off a little bit towards the end of the day. That's profit taking. But for the most part, somebody came in hard and moved this stock. And then if you look over here, to kind of just give you a bigger picture, here they bled off some. So you saw some pressure relief, and now the things are at least going in between together. They're kind of running together again, and that's where they should be. You shouldn't have these huge divergences where, but this is where I think shorts kind of freaked out, and they started trying to push the price down, but they weren't successful. And so, they do this. They needed to wait till a lower volume day to actually make their move, So here, let's go. So we move over now to, to us over here. So this was a huge amount of volume, huge amount of price movement, bled off a little bit, and then since then, though, we've had less volume than that first initial day. I mean, this was a huge amount of volume. We had this day, though, where, but we gapped up. And so once we gapped up, now we're trying to backfill, because you don't want to leave gaps on the daily. So if I go back to the daily, when we went from here and gapped all the way up and then ran up to, like, what was it, 5 or something like that, we left this gap in between here, and gaps tend to fill. And so, based off our pressure last week, it looked like we were going to just run and go, but I thought actually we were going to go up in the morning and then get just hammered down, and it actually went the opposite way. It just got hammered down the entire day. So let's see, right here we've got this. They put, we moved, chopped around, moved up, and then here you can see that we bounced off support and kind of went back up. This, though, is like a couple cents away from filling a gap. Is it going to fill it? I don't know. It might tomorrow. But once that happens, we're free and clear to go, because we shouldn't have any gaps in this area anymore. So let's see. What if we all planned spaced actions pre-market? So number one, we don't plan anything. We're retail traders, and we don't trade together. So we're all individuals making our own decisions. And this is not, our Discord is mainly fundamentals and stuff like that. We don't pump things. And what I can tell you is this: this is a very natural price movement to come back and retrace and look. Could it go into the 380s? That's what the TA says. Yeah, but you can get in trouble for collusion, basically, that you're trying to, pump a stock or do something like that. That's not what we're doing. We like the company, and we think there's, the short interest got super greedy, and we don't like that. So, let's see. Let's pull up real quick, just so I can see. I just added ATER to my StockWit. It says, okay, so we're one StockWit member away from being 30K for them. All right. Let's see if we can pull up some of the TA that was being talked about. All right. I think it's One Arrow in our Discord. Let's make this bigger. So he's got this right here, and it says. So I guess he's playing with some waves, some Ellie waves. Let's see. Yeah, so when smart money does it, they're allowed to do it, but retail, we're not allowed to do it. So that's what you have to be. But it looks like they like this area right here. What date is that? All right, so hold on. This is the 11th right here, right? So this is today. So tomorrow he's expecting it to go down and to test this right here, and this is where he thinks the spring is. Essentially, that would be about 370, roughly around there, like 370 something. That's close to the 380 that Booksy came up with, and then he expects to see kind of like, it looks like this is maybe the 13th. Is that right? This is the 12th right here. Right. So 12th is tomorrow, because this is today. But yeah, so we should see at least some downward motion, fill that gap, and then possibly bounce and hit the spring right here. And at that point, it's going to rip in like a couple different waves. It will come up, bull flag, consolidate, and then just move higher. That's what One Arrow's got. I like it. Good job, One Arrow. Let's see. Yeah, we've had a bunch of people do the TA, and they've all came up with this 380 as kind of like the new spring area. So if you were to look at setting a buy order, not financial advice, but that's the area. If you were looking to kind of time and try to get something, that might be a good place to have some strong support, because that's where they think the spring is. So if they were trying to get this algo to actually hit that area, you would execute your orders and probably get pretty close to where the bottom of this is. Let's see. He said he can confirm the Elliott wave count. We'll see how it plays out. I think pre-market will tee it up. We did have 2 impulse moves back in April 2020. I hope they're larger. I hope there's a larger wave at play here, pushing it higher. It could move, though, at a slower pace. Follow through is crucial. So, yeah, I mean, it depends on what retail's going to do. But the problem with retail is retail tends to do everything ass backwards. Like, they buy when they should be selling. So if the RSI, for example, is up here and you're pinned at like 90, that's when they buy. And then, because, everyone's making money, everyone's all hyped up, blah, 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 blah. Then when things look horrible, that's when they sell. And it's like, that's not how you make money. Like, it's literally the opposite of how you make money. But the problem is they can't control their emotions. And so we got to be able to, control your emotions when you trade, and just take your feelings and your emotions out of it, and just look at the charts and look at, if this buying up here doesn't make sense, then you should be buying down here. Like, if you look back at Aterian, sorry. Let me zoom out a little bit. Right? So when we were, like, down here and, like, these absolute lows, when we're hitting the oversold on the RSI, this is where you should be buying something. But this is where retail stays out of it. Everyone should have been buying down here. But this is when everyone's like, this is hopeless. Russia just invaded. We're like, this is World War III. And then, a week or 2 weeks later, look at us now, and now we're on oversold on the daily, and like coming down, we're gonna probably have to cool off a little bit, and then we'll have another rip up, and bull flag, consolidate. We'll do these in waves. All right, let's see. Yeah, if we run over 5 at any point like this, like it's gonna go. I mean, that's just the plain and simple truth. It's going to go, and it's gonna go fast. This is the magic number for this week. If we go over 5 and we push into like the mid 5s, and they start having to hedge all those 5s that are going to be in the money, you're going to see it just push into the 556, and then it's going to be out of control, because once they get those going, then they have to hedge some of the ones down the line, and that's how a gamma squeeze starts. There needs to be probably, though, more in the money calls that are like safe, like that can't get burned. So, I mean, that would be super helpful for us down the line. If people are able to get these things. But let's see. Yeah, we're fighting negative momentum from the overall market. Yeah, and that's going to be the thing. Right now, everyone's going to risk off. No one's going to take a flyer on a company that's supposed to be some squeeze stock. But the one thing that retail's buying pressure isn't there, because the only people that move the market right now are, for example, the big guys. But the one thing they can't hide from plain view is the FTDs and what's going to end up happening. The short interest is growing. It's not even like the short interest is huge. Let me see if I can pull up Vortex real quick so we can just take a look. Yeah, and like, it's not perfect, but at the same time, let's just show a couple different features. And alright, so I want to see shares on loan, because that's been going up, and that's where I think they got a lot of these shares to bid slam. We're going to cover cost to borrow. We're going to cover utilization, which has been pinned for a long time. And if we actually look back, you can see the last couple times it got really high and got pinned for utilization. And then you always see a run up after that. Let's do free float on loan, because that's another interesting one. My day was good, man. How was yours? Sorry, I'm reading through the things now. CPI predictions are always high, so the number comes out, they're always lower, and then yeah, Monta, you're right. Like, typically, they prepare you for the worst, and then everyone gets super bearish, and then they just rug pull all the bears, because there's money to be made that week, and that's how the market works. And basically, I mean, you can go back to like COVID. They're like, oh no, this is not a big deal, not a big deal. Meanwhile, they're all getting out. Smart money's bailing out through dark pools. And then they made it go longer, and they're like, well, maybe things aren't that bad, and then just rug pull retail. Don't you think other retailers will be frightened to sell? So, I mean, I wrote the D today, and I basically said that this is what's going on. Like, you're gonna see waterfalls, and you're gonna see them try to shake you out of the tree. And if you decide to fold your royal flush, then that's what you're gonna do. But some of you are smarter than that, and you're just gonna buy up these dips, and you're going to increase your positions, and in the long run, you're going to end up probably being very, very, happy with the decision you made. Like, could you have timed, this last day and been like, okay, I can get a little bit, I know we're going to go down maybe, 30 cents. Yeah, I mean, you can try for that. But if it decides all of a sudden to run instead, and you picked up pennies in front of the train tracks and you got smacked by the train, then I mean, it's your fault. Personally, that's not how I trade. And I know other people do trade that way, but I think it's too risky, because if it leaves without you and then you have to buy back in at a higher price point, what was the point? Because you just messed up your entire strategy, which was you were trying to gain more shares, and instead you're now buying back in and you missed the train, or you got smacked by the train instead. Yeah. Let's see. Most of your stuff has 414, 750 call. Yeah. Yeah, so the problem with that is, number one, the 750s were not a realistic price target for, at least in my eyes. When I was telling everyone, last week, I was buying 2 and 250 calls for last week, and those were very much realistic things. And then for this week, it was 3s and 350s, because the farther away you get from the money, you start really running into, like, they're going to try to burn out even just the 5s, and maybe even the 450s and the 4s. Like, you've got to stay behind them and then just kind of nudge them up throughout. That's kind of how I do it. Most of your portfolio has the 750 calls. I mean, you can hope that maybe we spike tomorrow, and if you wanted to roll them, that'd be, one way of at least protecting some of what you have left. If we go over, for example, 5, then you've got a shot, because if it goes over 5, then you're going to push 6, and maybe you can at least, decide to roll those if you wanted to and not lose money. Will they finish? So, because the theta on these are so quick on this week, you're going to lose value very, very quickly on those 750s. So if we have a nice spike tomorrow, I might want to, like, personally, if that was me, I would probably look for a way of just salvaging some of the money and then rolling it into an option that's probably a little bit more realistic. Yeah, but I mean, because technically you need the price to be even. If you're paying your premium too on top of that, you probably need the price to be more like $9 a share to break even on those for Thursday. So it's not going to be great. But if we get a nice big, IV spike, you might want to, like, take those and roll them to a different week, meaning sell them and buy back, another week. Yeah. So that's personally what I would do, and just let's hope tomorrow we get a nice big spike. Okay. Let's see. Somebody wrote something about if we get a big quick push tomorrow, break even. Yeah, that's essentially what we're all saying, I think. Obviously no financial advice, but no way of getting out of the tree. I just bought today, going long, no scalping here. Yep, that's how I plan on doing it. All right, so you want to go back to 8.7. Let's take a look at the last squeeze. All right. So here, and it started a little bit different because you had this spring right here at like 304, I think it was. Went from 4 and it jumped all the way up. So it would have been this day right here, roughly 4, and then it went up to 6. So it must have been this day you were talking about, right? It went all the way up to, yeah, so close over 6. So you're talking about this day, the 27th, that should be, yeah. It was game after that. And yeah, that's exactly what happened. So they were trying to keep, you can see right here, you can look at the wicks and just, look at these 2 wicks right here. The volume wasn't much. They pushed the price up. Shorts pushed back down. Same thing here. You got this doji here. And then, boom, they just broke through with volume on here because it was ready to go. And if you look at some of the like indicators, you can kind of see the build up to that was just, you saw the price going up, and then here's the thing though, retail didn't really FOMO in yet. Retail FOMO'd in this area right here when the price was already running and the RSI had already gone over. Once again, this is what I'm talking about. Retail traders typically make the worst moves possible because they're not watching these indicators. All they're doing is watching the price. So they gap up largely here, right? And this is where we get most oversold, and this is where most retail FOMO's in this area right here. They see the gap up pre-market, and when retail sees gap up, they get excited. When I see gap up, I go, shit, we're going to have to cover that at some point and go back there. And they did it the very next day. Now here, this is where they got nailed down. And you can see right here, all the money's flowing in, and the money's still flowing in. So like retail's buying. But meanwhile, they're pushing down the price as aggressively as they can. And they even get to this point where they diverge out of this, they just get really, really aggressive with, trying to push down the price. But look, retail is stupid, and we are. I mean, I'm one of you guys too. I mean, so I've made plenty of bad decisions like this in the past, and I tried not to do them anymore. So what I'm showing you is, they gap up, you hit this, high, and then boom, you shoved back down. And I think this is where they were basically accounting for the FTDs at this point were stacking up from this run. So FTDs are starting to stack up. That's why you actually have the secondary run right here, was because FTDs had piled up. And that's kind of what I'm expecting at some point with over here where we are now, is we had this one big day, we have these kind of choppy days, and then we're going to get pushed down, maybe one more day of like, and then we're going to bounce and head up from there. It's kind of the plan I've got. But as you see right here, the price goes up really aggressively high. The money, though, if you notice the money flow's always been there. And that's something that's just interesting, because you would think if you have a stock, for example, look at these things right here. You have a stock that, even look, I want to go back even further. I want to show you this. I don't want to do that. I want to go back further. I may have to go back and edit this to, can we add one? Do that again. Hold on. I'm getting tired, so not thinking straight. Let's see. If we want to make... Alright, we'll just do it this way. Okay. Look at this over here. So, the money flow was super low. All throughout here. The price is bleeding down. We get oversold completely on this is where retail should have been just stacking as many as they could. But of course, that's not what was happening, because you notice that we didn't get retail's interest until the price started moving up, and especially this large move right here. This was like the absolute worst time to buy. And that's, of course, when the retail was buying the most. So what I think is interesting, though, is that you've got this move up. Retail, the money flows in, but it just never leaves. And that's what I think is interesting, because even the on-balance volume is still up pretty high, and it doesn't retrace back down. Like, normally these things move together, and that didn't. It got pushed down, and this is them pushing the price down in these waves just to get it lower and lower and lower. But meanwhile, the volume didn't fall off, and the money didn't just come down like it normally should. Like, normally those things travel at least somewhat symmetrically to each other. But like, see all this down here, like you just have constant, selling pressure up until here. Then this is right when Russia started, like, to push us back down. But now we're crossing over into this. What I want to see is I want to start seeing some blue, some light blue into here and getting bigger. And that's kind of what we're just starting to see. If you notice, we're just getting into this blue again. So that's on the awesome or the TTM squeeze, and that's where it's going to get interesting. And on the awesome, you see these fans are getting bigger, and I think the next move's going to be coming up pretty soon. But just you see this, the price came up with this, and then as soon as we got to this part right here, they've been pushing it down hard, even though the money's flowing in. So the money's flowing in. You can even see it had been pretty stagnant across there, and then it pushed up even higher. And you see this OBV push up even higher, but yet the price is going down. And that normally doesn't happen like that. You don't normally see these divergences this big, and that's what made me think that there's something wrong with this stock. There's a couple other indicators that I've used before, but like these are where I start getting like my tinfoil hat, like spidey senses, like something's not right here. Let's see. Yeah, I'll be going to bed probably in a couple minutes. I just wanted to do this. Momentum trade. Let's see. You guys were talking about, I guess it was Viru. Yeah, I'd heard that ticker. I think I talked about it a couple weeks ago. And I actually didn't invest in it, but yeah. Yeah, I mean, so the IDX is a really, really, like, if I'm routing an order, I route it through IDX because it's one of the more fair exchanges, and your shares will probably actually hit the lit market. So yeah, if you can use IDX, like I know TD, you're allowed to route through them. I don't know about other brokers. I would imagine Robinhood probably is not, or if you're using Robinhood, I'm not quite sure. I mean, I know people like the interface, but it's just, that's not a great broker. Let's see. In fact, most of the payment for order flow ones are crap. Question: What will them settling tomorrow do to the price? All right. What will them settling tomorrow? What do you mean settling? Persian, what do you mean by settling? Yeah, most of us sold out of Robinhood in January, and they're going to be in deep trouble in general because I don't think many people use them anymore. They kind of burned their bridge with retail. What is this app called? Oh, the one I'm using right now? It's Thinkorswim. And actually, it's free, I believe. It's from TD Ameritrade, and I think you can go to type in Thinkorswim, and they can set you up. And, there are classes you can take on it. There's free videos you can learn online, but you're able to do a bunch of different indicators, and you can look at some of the stats, and it's something you'll learn as you go. Let's see. Possibly from the big close on Friday, T+2. Yeah, I mean, okay, that's what he's talking about. He's talking about basically the settlements, meaning like, okay, so Friday we had a good amount of obviously things that finished in the money. Now, they should have been technically hedged already on Friday, but they have technically till Tuesday to deliver all those shares. So, yes, I mean, I would imagine we could see some buying pressure tomorrow, and it probably will be this. It will probably be them pushing down the price, getting to that the 380 area that we've been kind of highlighting. I think one arrows was 370 something, like 378 or something like that. But that's roughly the area that we're looking for, that spring off the Elliott wave. So for anyone that's looking at that, I think we should be finishing around, or finishing the week according to his TA. I'd love to see Booksy's also next to it, but in the meantime, what we can do is we can pull this up. And hold on, let me see. I get it over here. Come on, get over there. I So here we are. They see us bouncing off of this. So it looks like, if this is right, what's the time frame on this? Or is this the 1 minute? No, this is... What time frame does he have on here? Let me just make sure. So this is the 5th, right? This is the 6th, 7th, 8th. This was our gap up, right? This was our market hours. We finished there. And then we gapped down, came back up, and then went down all of today. And this must be tomorrow. So he's expecting it to basically probably bounce off this upper channel, which would have been 4 something, it looks like, maybe. Let's get over here. Here we go. So that would be about 4:30. So that would be interesting to see, is if we, for example, were able to bounce above 4, maybe we gap up pre-market, it bleeds off until the afternoon, and then makes its way into either end of the day or Wednesday. I'm not sure. Let's see what time frame on this is. So this is the 12th. All of this, and then this must be the new day, so it would be Wednesday. So it looks like Wednesday, if that's what it looks like. Yeah, so the after hours was a little sketch, not gonna lie. I didn't watch the after hours, what was going on with it. Does Elliott Wave line up with a Wyckoff? Alright, let's take a look at Wyckoff. So I had put out what I thought was some of the Wyckoff stuff, and the question was where it lined up according to Wyckoff. Let me pull up, because I think we decided it was Wyckoff accumulation number 2. Accumulation schematic 2, which would have been this one. Let's see if we can pull that up real quick. Okay. Let me pull that up here. We can kind of make it small and maybe take a look at where this is. Okay. So we had... So it would have been probably... This is us falling. Let me pull up. Where's that picture? So we're falling. We chop up, chop down. We start going in this little thing, but we need a spring area, and that's what I think right here. This was our spring, because we had fallen down pretty hard, and then we bounced off this 210 spring. And from here, we've been kind of going up. Let me see if I can. So now we're starting to move these things, and we're going to test these upper lines. And so we bounced off it the first time, broke through, fell down, came back over, and then we had a gap up to go over it. Now what I see us doing is back testing this, falling into this thing, and then heading up from there. The question is, are we in this area right here, and then we're going to have more consolidation, and then we have our big move up? Or is it that we're more like, here-ish, and then we'll, have one more phase up, and then we go from there? But, it's hard to tell sometimes because you have sometimes like mini distribution and or accumulations and like within like a larger, so there's like Wyckoffs within Wyckoffs, like Inception kind of shit. But like um I think this is where we're at as far as we hit that spring at 210. That's the spring. We came up, we're gonna go down, we come back up. So that's this, these moves right here, and then I'm expecting it to go hit fives, and I think that might be this area right here. And then we're gonna have some consolidation maybe, and then we'll move up. It really depends though, because this can get really expedited through, like that we can cram all this down. This doesn't have to match perfectly, is what I've found out. Like sometimes you have a B, and then it kind of quickly moves like 2 or 3 days into C, and then you move right on up into D, and then just shoot up from there. Like it's not a perfect match, and it doesn't have to line up perfectly, is what I've kind of discovered. So that is the Wyckoff, and it kind of goes through. So what I'm going to expect, at least, if this was our here, right? And we did a bunch of days doing kind of almost nothing, just kind of chopping around. So that's not this immediate like spring up, but this kind of reminds me of the spring up in this part right here. So like maybe this is the initial, that's 5 maybe, and this is our 380, and then we're gonna move up to like 6 or something. Maybe top out at like 750, and then from there we'll consolidate some more, and then we'll go from there. It's gonna be interesting because I think there's gonna be multiple waves, and what's really gonna matter is the options chain, because if the options chains go off, then it doesn't matter, because it's just gonna basically skip forward out of these steps, and it's gonna go straight up to like D and E. So let's see. But yeah, yeah, it looks like it wants to push. But yeah, if you just remember, we came through, we've been kind of doing this, and then we, think of this as kind of like an area of, interest for both sides. This like 393 area. Because previously when we ran up, we bounced right off the top of it and then pushed back down. Then we tried to run through it, and it didn't work, and we came back down. Went down here. They tried to go up, almost touched it again, and we couldn't do it. So what they did was they gapped it up in the pre-market. And so now we're going to find out if it falls back through or if it's going to support, and then we bounce off of it. Because, for example, tomorrow, if we were to push down, hit that 380 spring, and then go from there, that's another large move up. But yeah, like honestly, buying out of the money calls, especially weeklies, is way too risky in my opinion. So if you guys want to YOLO, that's one thing, but like to me, that's just I usually trade nothing less than 6 months out. This is the first time I've been trading shorter term time frames, but it's because I feel pretty confident that I understand what's going on. Okay. Do you hold shares or contracts? All right. I made 200% on a 35-cent leap for Thursday during the run up and Friday. Yeah, that's smart. I mean, you made good money on that. So congrats. Yeah, it's time to sleep. Midnight. Yep, I'll be going to sleep too. So, all right, guys. I'll see you guys tomorrow. Unfortunately, obviously, I'm still working. I did see. I think I got some Patreon love. I think, if I remember correctly. Let me just double check, and this will be the last thing I do. I'll give you an update on where we're at before you guys can make me a streamer, and I will be at your disposal all day long. Apparently, I still think it's kind of nuts because obviously I have a normal day job, and that's why people were like, "Well, why isn't he talking?" It's like, no, I mean, I turned it on so you guys can watch the level 2s, but like, let's see, what was it called? Patreon. That's right. So, at this point right now, we are at 22 patrons and $441 a month, which is great, and I thank you guys so much for those. I am not going to be able to live stream for that amount of money. I told people in the Discord, obviously, how much I make, and I have to be able to supplement that. So hopefully, maybe Aterian runs, and you guys are super rich, and maybe you want me to do this for other stocks and tickers, and I'll just kind of research stuff in front of you and all day long, and we can find some good plays to do. But at this point right now, I can't quit my day job, so I will link the Patreon in here, and if anyone down the line wants to, appreciate it, and we will eventually maybe get me to be a YouTuber. But I just figured I could probably answer questions faster talking than I could type them. So yeah, it's I just linked it there, and then hopefully everyone's part of the Discord, and if you are not, I'll link that one too, because if you stumble across this video, we've got a whole bunch of really good people in there. It's free, and I just want traders to kind of learn, and we all learn from each other. I learn things still. I'm not perfect, and I make mistakes, and people catch them, and other times I catch other people, and just want to make sure that we keep each other honest. And I think it provides a pretty good perspective when you have multiple people looking at the same issue. Then you can actually say, okay, well, we got lots of eyes on this. Let's see if we're from different angles. Let's see what's going on here. And so you can make better decisions when you've got a lot of different people looking at things and seeing, what their take on it is. And, I've got, now 3 or 4 people doing technical analysis on multiple stocks. And so we can kind of take a look at different ones, and it's good to have some variety. All right. So somebody just compared the run from 3 to 20 to now. So in September 2021, it was 28 million share float. SI was 42%. Cost to borrow was 150. Utilization was 99.68. Now the float is 25 million. I guess the short interest right now is 38%. The cost to borrow I think they've got that wrong. I think the cost to borrow is like 60% right now. Utilization 100%. Yeah, I mean we're getting close. I mean it's probably a week or two away is my guess. It's going to be at least another nice move up, and then at that point it's just becoming, is it a gamma squeeze, or are we going to consolidate and just hang out in a range? So if we are in a gamma squeeze, then you're going to see prices rip hard. So here I will go ahead and link that in there. Rip 20 people will take care of you. Thanks. All right, so that's our Discord. Hopefully if anyone stumbles across this video, we'll go ahead and do that. And hug them babies. I will. All right, guys. I will go ahead and jump off here, but I hope you guys are awesome, doing well, and have a great evening. I'll see you in the morning, and then I'll be at work, but I will go ahead. You shopping for a new wife too? No. No, my wife's awesome. She's very cool. So she puts up with this shit. So good talking to you guys, and I will see you tomorrow. And then I'll be on mainly the Discord during the day. And then I think if you guys are interested, if there's some people that actually want to be moderators of the YouTube, because apparently I don't look at YouTube when I'm like streaming at work. Apparently somebody said that there were people like trashing me, and so we can add some moderators if we need to. So just let me know if you're interested, and you can DM me on the site. If you hang out on YouTube all day, watching that stream or anything, you can be a moderator and just keep that out of there. But besides that, have a great evening, everyone, and I will talk to you guys tomorrow. Thanks.